Hello, hello, hello. I am here in front of my new painting. This is so amazing, and I have a matching rock for that painting because I have a rock that has that pi sign on it. As you can see, this here is the pi sign. I will also make a real big video once this is completed, but it will take me a couple of more weeks to complete this because I do many extra layers to saturate the color. So this here is the pi sign. I have a rock that has exactly that pi sign on it, and I will make a video with that. And so this pi sign can then extend out to become this here, which is a hieroglyph in the tombs in Egypt. They were making tomb drawings. That was actually a language. I don't know what this meant. I see. So, and then they have this was combinations with a bird's symbol and stuff like that, and that will say something else. That will say the bird sees, or I saw a bird. I don't know exactly. I don't know very much about those pictograms, but one thing I know for sure, that the pi sign looks very similar to this hieroglyph. The eye of the Cleopatra with these two stripes underneath, very striking resemblance. And that then merges into this sign, which I created, of course, which is the eye of the blue god, and I just put the two stripes underneath, and then eventually we have the eye of the blue god, which is rectangular, cubic in shape, with it's a very simplistic outlining and a very simplistic center of the eye, the pupil. Yes, my kitty is there. Yes, oh yes, the kitty. Oh yes, it's cold outside. It is so cold. So, and then I have, this is a juniper tree. This is a hydrangea flower. These are hearts, all of those. Okay, and that is the blue god. There's another heart. And I also paint around it on the sides. I don't wanna. Okay, so here. I don't know if this shows very well because the light is coming from the back, so it's not the ideal light right now, but I'm also painting into these indentations that this particular styrofoam mold came with. So it came with these two indentations there, and I paint all the way into it, and it looks really nice, looks cool with the light shining through, pink like this. And I made the two astronauts, which are in here now, in this container. I hope the computer doesn't fall. So they're in that container with the candle, and there they are, and they are drying, and once they're ready I can paint them in pink and orange, and then I will want to put them, if this is laid out over like this, and this is like a table surface, then I can put these figures in here, sort of like, almost like some kind of gaming board or something with gaming figures, but that's not what it is. Those are just two astronauts that are going to take off with this alien spaceship. And when it stands up like this, then this one won't work, this crawl space here, that's too small for the astronauts, but I can stand both of them into this door here that's made for them. They can stand one behind the other, like this, and facing this way. So that would look really, really good. And I don't want to glue them in, which I could, but I want to have them mobile. So whoever wants to obtain this art piece one day, I want their inner child or their biological child or their adopted child to, or friends, children, to play with these astronauts and take them out of there. Because when I was a child and I saw something like this and something was attached, then I was actually trying to pry that apart, those kind of things. So I want that to be freestanding in there, so that a child who is curious like I was when I was a child can just take those out and play with them in front of this painting. So, or lay this over and have them stand on top of it, like I have at the other house with my alien spaceship number 1. So this is the alien spaceship number 2. Yeah. And this will only have these 2 astronauts that go with it. The other alien spaceship has a whole bunch of figures that are on there. I also added the other painting next to it. Those are both put on top of a cardboard box, which I also painted. So that entire thing is basically an alien spaceship area with all of these figures. And then I have another mold just like this one. So I guess there were 2 of those in the box to hold some kind of power tool together. And I have another one like this in the corner of the living room. It's standing there next to the futon couch. And once this one is completed, I'm going to start the other one and make alien spaceship number 3 out of that. So if I have time for it. So we'll see, we'll see what we can do in what amount of time. But yeah, this one is almost finished. But it's always good to have something to look forward to, even if you feel stuck like I have been feeling. So it's good to still create the present moment in a mind state of gratitude. This is really the key to existence in general. It doesn't matter what our situation is. I've been so many times in the situation where I thought, this isn't working out. I better just throw this all down and just go do something else or do this or whatever. No, I have to, whatever I do, whether I go somewhere else, I still have to clean my house. I still have to make it nice. I still have to be good to the people around me, even if I am in a situation that may not be good for me psychologically. Whether that's someone who wants to control my mind but is kind, I have to be kind, I care. Or if I am with someone who is not kind, I still have to be kind to that person, I know one thing for sure is that when we snap, that's not moving us forward. When we snap and get mad at someone, that may just be some kind of cathartic moment where we realize, oh yeah, this has been bothering me more than I thought it did, So So maybe I cannot procrastinate this or that. Maybe I have to figure something else out. But in the meantime, there's absolutely no way. There's no way for me to be letting my anger out on someone else. So if I ever get mad at someone, I will apologize right afterwards, because I monitor myself. I see what's going on. The other day I did kick against the dryer. And I may even have put a dent into it. I don't know. It definitely moved a little bit out towards the window. And I feel really bad about it. We should never even get to the point where we end up snapping and getting really mad. So that's why we need to have a soundproof room with padded walls for that purpose, so that we can monitor ourselves and every day and ask ourselves, is this guy bothering me? And to what extent? What is bothering me? Am I honest with myself about this? Or am I just ignoring it because it would be too inconvenient for me to move out? See, a lot of women are in that situation, and I don't blame them. I know how difficult it is. Even today, with somewhat equal opportunities in the area of professions and jobs, we still have this. We still are kind of psychologically ordered into that role of the passive one, the receiver. That doesn't feel so good. That's why I stand up against it. That's why I'm a feminist. That's why I want to empower teenage girls and women in general. We need to empower them. It's very important. I absolutely love this painting. This is so incredibly wonderful and gorgeous. And it makes me feel good. This is, even if the situation that I am in is not making me happy, okay, and it is scary, and there's so much uncertainty with politics, with the economy, with all of that going on. So much civil unrest, so much hate, so much race division, and division in general, gender division. Women are divided away from men. Men are divided away from women. There are so many war fronts that are going on. And then we have to somehow make it work in this chaos of all of that dualism and all of this psychological warfare and psychological disconnect between people. We have to make it work. We have to become conscious. And it's just like when we're driving, and Paul wanted me to talk about that also today. I said I already made a video about road rage, but it kind of ties in right now with this subject. Tony Robbins said something very, 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 very philosophically true. He said, live your life and do the very best you can under the circumstances that you're in, even if you're mentally ill, or even if you're whatever, a psychopath, or criminally insane or schizophrenic, or if you have mental disconnect, or if you have time lapses of consciousness, or total denial, or anosognosia. I see all of those kind of things happening in the world. It doesn't matter what people have. We have to become conscious. And there was a woman with 30 or more personalities, DID, dissociative identity disorder. I asked the hacker if that is what he has. He didn't answer. So I wonder, I really wonder, maybe, I don't know, maybe he doesn't know what it is. I think everyone knows what that is. But that's the most interesting and fascinating mental illness of all, because it shows how people can actually go into a biological disconnect to the point where they have two different personalities. And I actually believe these two different personalities have two different souls. That's what I believe, because I saw some incredible stuff. This ties also in with the paranormal. Today is Halloween. So Paul got some candy there just in case some trick-or-treaters are coming. I have a spider to give to them, a plastic spider. I hung it up into the spider net there in the corner, but the plastic spider weighed it down and tore that net. It wasn't staying. It hung in there for like a few seconds, but then it wasn't really staying in it. So I put it in the windowsill for now, just to give Paul some entertainment. Every time he walks by there, he goes like, no, it's a plastic spider. So there's a lot of paranormal stuff going on, and we were talking about this kind of stuff last night in the chat room, which was very uplifting and interesting. There were some people that were really serious into the inquiry of this, and one atheist, I think, I forgot what his name was now. One atheist was there, and I have sympathy for atheists. I don't mean this in any kind of degrading way. Paul is an atheist. I have a lot of sympathy for him. I'm not laughing, okay? I'm saying is I totally get where they're coming from and why they are like that, because they're fed up. They are fed up with indoctrination and the ego, wanting. The ego of most people hides behind religion, okay? That's not paranormal, okay? That's not mystical. Religion is not mystical. Religion is mental illness. That's all there is to it. And that's what the atheists or some agnostics are mad about, and I totally get it. But then they go and they stay stuck. They hide behind that philosophy, and they say there's nothing more to explore. And I got into an argument with Paul several times, but then he will acknowledge and say, yes, of course there's endlessly more to explore. So he's willing to go to that lengths. But a lot of atheists are not willing to go there, and they just go like, no, there's nothing more, and finished, end of story, I don't want to talk about. And the religious people, they are all for the paranormal. Of course, religion is kind of like the entire, all of those doctrines are built upon the paranormal. The problem is that the religions themselves was almost like, with most of the stuff that I would say almost everything in the Bible is a misunderstanding and bad translations. Also, who knows what the original wordings actually meant to say by Apostle Paul, but then we can go further deeper into the past with the Old Testament that comes from the Hebrew religions and so on, and that goes, of course it has it's goes through evolution. Religion is evolutionary. Religion evolves. Religion is passed on from one person to another through word of mouth. Usually, many people were illiterate in the past, so lots of paganism is woven into it, whether they know it or not. Paganism is not bad. It has some bad elements, depending on what subject they have been dealing with, and also towards the equator, paganism becomes more and more psychopathic. This is a statistical fact. This is a historic fact. Okay, in South America, in Peru, they threw their children into volcanoes, the Incas and Mayans, or whatever cultures that were living there several thousand years ago. So that says something about their psychopathic disconnect, the psychological disconnect. Psychopathy is a mental state of psychological disconnect from the other living being. Okay. The wholesome state of mind is I am not disconnected from the other. A wholesome state of mind is, the sane state of mind is, I see the other. I even see the psychopath. I see their suffering, okay? And it took me a lifetime to come to this understanding and to this mind state of more sanity in terms of, let's not talk about my mental illness and my OCD rituals right now, but in terms of understanding, like a cognitive understanding and an empathy that ties into it, that is sanity. Okay, so yes, I have anxieties, which are also based on ego. But I don't let those go against another living being, against another person. But that in itself is evolution. Is a healing process. That can be a lifetime healing process. My friend Lana told me something very interesting. She is a cat woman locally. Unfortunately, I don't talk to her anymore. She hung up the phone. She disconnected the contact because it's a long story. It was about religion, and she is very dogmatic and all of that. But she loves animals, and that's why we were friends. We had something in common. And she told me that she was going out with a man from Yemen, Middle East, who was here in the United States. I guess she met him in Eureka, California, where she was living, and they got together. They were madly in love with each other. And I asked her, so what about Islam? Didn't that bother you? And she said, well, yeah, of course, yeah. I said, so what happened? Didn't you argue or... And she said, well, the love, the sexual attraction was very strong, and so they kind of ignored the religious differences. But whenever he was talking about it, she would be very stubborn and stand very strongly her own ground of her own religion, which was Lutheran, I guess. Lutheran, Christian, evangelical, Pentecostal, or whatever. And there was nothing that he could say that could make her like Islam. Well, good for her on that. And he couldn't put a chador on her. And where he was coming from, they didn't treat animals very well. but just, I don't know for how long they were together, a couple of years. But he eventually left the United States, went back to Yemen, and he wrote to her, and they talked on the phone, and he said to her, "You taught me something. You taught me to be better with animals." And this is very surprising to me, that this man wasn't completely like, these things weren't just beating off the surface. Her love for animals and her caregiving and the compassion and taking care of the cats or the kitties, it did get into his mind. It did permeate into him. And so that gave me hope, And so I thought, okay, so people, they can let that in. There is still some space in the mind, beyond the indoctrination that is usually filling people's minds up all the way to the top, where there's no more space for connecting or for unity, for unification, for oneness. That's what they're talking about when they talk about oneness. Oneness is the natural state. We are oneness with everything, whether we acknowledge it or not. And so this was very nice for me to hear that she taught him something good. And I know that the Buddhists, the Vipassana meditation by S.N. Goenka has been giving people something in the same sense, has been healing, helping people to heal towards more oneness, towards more compassion. I don't know how far it reaches, but it did help some prisoners in India and the United States. They have applied this in the Alabama prison. And there were some prisoners, including some violent criminals, that got help out of that, out of these daily meditations from the Vipassana meditation from S.N. Goenka, like a chant, a recorded chant by S.N. Goenka, who himself got a whole lot out of it. He started out as Hindu, then later converted to Buddhist, and realized through the Buddhism, and luckily there are lots of Buddhist groups or different Buddhist religions that have not been able to distort the message of the Buddha totally, as it normally happens with other types of philosophies or philosophers or gurus or mentors or religions or cults or whatever, whatever. It may start out to be a little bit better, and then it becomes a whole lot worse later on, because whatever there was good in the beginning was then completely misunderstood and made again into selfishness or self-serving ways of conducting that particular religion. Okay, we can observe that very clearly. So the sane mental state is to feel the other being, the other animal or person. That is the sane mental state, and we can move towards it. And it's not just done through theory or cognitive understanding. A psychopath might say, "Yeah, you're right. I think I get what you're saying," but then an hour later he will succumb to his ways of dealing with other people again, because he has not created an inner peace yet. And that inner peace is not achieved only through cognitive lecturing and understanding. With the cognitive understanding has to also come an energy that has to be conveyed together with that. And that can be done through a painting like this, or through a person who radiates that understanding out, as in totally understanding this is how it works, okay? This is how life functions, and this is the only way, okay? I cannot let myself get to the point where I will snap out of total annoyance or anger or whatever, or something that I hadn't dealt with before, like a double standard or the perpetual double standard, which you might laugh away at first, but it's still there in the back of the head. When we don't deal with it, then we come to the point eventually where we might snap, and that's where I don't want to go with my life. And I don't want to go perpetually over and over and over to that point where I end up giving him a 3-hour lecture and using the F word because the anger had built up so far, So I don't want it to come to that point. And I don't know how far he is able to actually hear me and listen to what I'm saying. See, if I'm angry then, or if I'm forceful with my lecturing, then I don't convey that message in an energetic form. I may just use words that will be theory, right? I can say, make more peace in the world, but well, I'm not peaceful in that moment when I say it like that, right? So Thich Nhat Hanh was observing that during the Vietnam era, when he was doing a peace walk in front of the White House with the Buddhists, and in front of them was an angry mob group of so-called peace activists that were stomping away much faster with signs in their hands, and bloody signs with all kinds of shouting angry and all that. We want peace. That's not conveying that message with the true feeling behind it, with the real energy that is part of that message, okay? So in the same sense, if I snap at Paul, he will just give in just because he doesn't want me to pack up my stuff and leave, or throw a pot off the stove or something. It's like, we're all good now, I'm all good, I am listening to you, but I don't know if he hears anything I say, because I don't know, that particular day, all day, also even after I calmed down, I was still lecturing in an angry way. And so how can I convey my message to him if I lecture to him in an angry way? I can't. In order to have a real conversation with someone, con means together, okay? Versation, where we are communicating together, okay? It's a reciprocal approach. I say something, you say something, we say something to each other. We give each other space to process what we say and respond to it in a calm way. As Paul told me that Henry Ford and Thomas Edison were talking for 10 hours straight about the eye of a sewing machine needle. And he brought that up many years ago, and he kept talking about it. And I listen, you know. I become very alert when he talks about this, because I know that he is 100% right about that mindfulness, and about that conversation between them, although he is not practicing it. Okay, but I'm glad that it stuck in his head. I'm glad that when he saw that or read about it, I guess he saw a documentary film on it, it stuck in his head. So there was the message, not me, Nicola, angrily dictating that to him, but no, he got the message through the real example of the two people that were really in the now, talking about the eye of the sewing machine needle, and about all these different ways and shapes that it could be formed, it could be ground down to make the thread just go smoothly enough and get through the under thread and all of that, like a very complicated process. People will buy something technological and they just take it for granted. They don't understand what kind of incredible thinking was going into it, so, and passion and nerdness and dorkiness and extreme dedication. Okay, so of people, not just one person, but if two minds come together and they talk about this in detail, then amazing stuff can come out of it if we can put our minds together. Most people do not put their minds together. They will say, oh, there is someone smarter than me, Elon Musk. No, I need to hate him. I need to go against him. There's one guy, he tries to compete with Elon Musk. That is a tricky undertaking to do that. There's one techie guy. Yeah, I acknowledge I forgot the name. I better also not mention the name. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't know what corporation he works for, So the oil industry, ExxonMobil, I don't know. But his ego is definitely in with that. He wants to compete with Elon Musk. He tries to find fault with Elon Musk. And that's a pure state of ego. That's self-centeredness, that is competition. It's dualism, it's division. That's not oneness, that's not working together. Okay. Elon Musk, however, on the other side, works together with other people. He listens to other people. He listens to other entrepreneurs and inventors. He wants to use what we have, make it better, improve it, work together with other people. Most people won't give away their patents. Elon Musk gives his patents away to everyone for free because he wants people to think about it and help him make it better. And together we make it better, right? But most people, they are so, it's all about money, greed, ego, their accomplishments, their fame, and so on. That's a very childish mental state that most people are in, and you would be surprised who is all affected with that. Some great thinkers even, okay? Some very famous people, some people you think they accomplished a lot, but they're still in a childish mental state with that. It's very sad for me to see. How can this species move forward when people are in those selfish, self-centered, in these cognitively disconnected mental states? How can they move? How can we move forward? Okay, so far there are not that many people who are sharing with others, who want to make it better, who are also working with other animal rights groups, who are supportive of someone else who wants to make the world a better place. And Elon Musk is the ultimate in that. He really wants to. He wants to unite us. He wants to heal us. He wants to save this planet. My goodness, it should be acknowledged. Yes, but people are in their mental states of, also ego, jealousy, competition. Then the hear talk radio people that are feeling that way, and they are then influencing millions of other people in that direction. The oil industry supports them even with money, because if they can turn people against Elon Musk, that will pave the way for the oil industry, and on and on and on and on and on. You get the picture now, I hope, for everyone who's still doubting that, who still doubts electric cars and sentient robots and solar energy. That's our future, my goodness. This is the foundation of our future survival. And we need to respect those people who are working tirelessly to move us into that direction. Okay, very, very important. That's unity, that's togetherness, that's conversation, that's really working together. Okay? That's mindfulness, doing things mindfully. When I work on my art projects, this is not like I'm not drawing a heart or this eye like on first scratch. On first scratch, it's kind of crooked and so on, and then I perfected every day I perfected a little bit more. I put another layer of paint on it. I perfected a little bit more and more and more and more and more, and that even then it's not totally perfect. It doesn't have to be. Okay, so but I'm also gonna show the rock. Maybe I'll make the rock video tomorrow because it's kind of difficult right now, but and I will, now that you see this here, I will explain that with the rock, the pi symbol again. So I made a video about this before, but I deleted it because I didn't like the way I talked. I didn't like the way I looked. I'm very self-critical, so sometimes I might delete a video, even though I talked about a bunch of things that were important, but I can always repeat that later on. It's not a big deal. So, but this is the pi symbol, okay? And it comes from hieroglyphs, of course, The Greek alphabet comes from hieroglyphs. Hieroglyphs are depictions. It's a pictogram language. They are basically simple pictures, like on the toilet, woman or man, pictogram. Public restroom. That's a pictogram too. So simplistic shapes that say something, This restroom is for women, this restroom is for men, or this restroom is for handicapped people, with the wheelchair sign, or this is for blind dogs, or this is for service dogs. The world is full of those pictograms, and they are practical. That's a universal language. Everyone understands it on first glance at an airport or whatever. But language started out like this. Language started out with these hieroglyphs, with these pictograms, like a simple drawing of something, an animal or a bird. And then these simple drawings became a language, very, very gradually evolved into a language. And then it evolved into this here, into those types of letters. It evolved into letters, rudimentary letters, however, And then out of this, it grew, and even letters like this you can find in the Russian language, which I initially learned. I had Russian in school a long time ago, but I didn't learn. I don't remember very much. Ja lublю тебя, schlappa, karoshaya, das vidanya. That's all I remember now. But they have they have similar types of letters. Actually, there is still kind of archaic. So then other Eastern Bloc countries have modernized their alphabet with the Western alphabet letters, and with still some extra stuff on it, like some extra accents on it and stuff like this. But definitely language, as you can see, it's now evolving into one language, and that's English. Not just English, but the US version of English is dominating the whole world. It will eventually dominate the Middle East, you better believe it. And even if they're still religious there, they will adapt to the English language because it's evolving, okay? And that's now because even before the internet, it was evolving in that direction. Now it evolves even much more exponentialized into that direction. That's obvious, but it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So evolution is evolution. It evolves, and it's in a constant flow, and it is good, and we need to be in acceptance of that. It's very important, and we need to be in acceptance of our now moment, whatever that is. It could be a complete, like a threshold type of situation. Yeah. I'm in a threshold situation right now in my life. And it's real scary. I've never been in such a scary situation before. Okay. It was quite a jump to break away from my parents financially, and also in the psychological way. And the financial tethering that was part of that psychological tethering was my parents. And so now I'm at the very threshold of untethering myself from Paul. And it's not easy. It is horrific for both of us. It's horrific for him. It's horrific for me because it is horrific for him because I care about him. I only want his best. That is my honest, true statement to you. I would never, ever take anything from him that I don't have to take from him. So this is the absolute. This is exactly how I feel. We have created things together to come to this point, but I am the one who is leaving. So, and because of that, I would never go to some lawyer who sues the shit out of him, or ends up with most of the money. One guy from San Francisco told me that he had been through this twice, where the lawyer ended up with almost everything, and he used to be wealthy, and then he ended up, a war veteran, ended up with his dog in some kind of apartment in Oakland, renting rooms to other people. He said, don't get a lawyer, figure it out on your own. Most lawyers do not want you to get something, they don't want to make it nice for you. They want to make it nice for themselves. That's how most people are. Most people are greedy. Not just most lawyers. That's just the human nature, okay? Some people say, lawyers, oh, no, I hate lawyers. No. It's most people, okay? Or some people say, them politicians are, no, not true, okay? There are some good politicians, but most of them are not. Because most humans are greedy apes, okay? We need to acknowledge that first. If we want to heal something and make something better, and most people who point the finger with an accusation, they got that kind of shit going in their own lives, with their own minds, okay? So that's something that L. Ron Hubbard paid close attention to, that double standard is something that's a psychological mechanism that is happening in almost all people to some degree, to some extreme extent in some people, and they're so cognitively disconnected from that they don't see it in themselves. Okay? That's why we need to do meditation, and we come back to the now moment, and we need to recognize and look into our own minds, recognize our own behavior. I recognize that I got mad at Paul and I hollered and I used bad language, and I feel bad about it. I don't want to be in that mental state. I don't want it to come to that. I don't want to shout at him. He tries real hard. However, he is not attuned with his own double standard and all of that, and his wanting to control me, wanting to keep me unempowered and so on. Those are very subconscious mechanisms. Conscious, on his conscious awareness, he thinks he's just helping me and wants to make the best out of it. Okay. But that's a cognitive disconnect. Okay. That's why it is important for him, for me, for you, for everyone in the world, that we go into meditation and we become aware of our own mistakes, of our own double standards, selfishness, ego, jealousies, our own mental illness, our own irrationalities, and so on, and become grounded physically and psychologically, and see through ourselves, and then be able to, with a lot of mindfulness, rearrange our lives in a very conscious and deliberate and compassionate way to make it better for us, for our bodies, to make it healthier and make it better for all the other beings that are around us. Okay, very, very important.